we're just over halfway through September, and this is one of my favorite months, especially when we have these beautiful sunny afternoons where there's enough of a chill in the air that we really appreciate the warmth of the sun. Another reason why I really love September is that I'm somebody who really loves and flourishes in routine. I tend to pretty easily go off the rails without consistent routine. And this September was no different. I was really craving it. I was craving for our family to just get back into a rhythm. But at the same time, it seemed really uncertain. Things haven't changed overall. We are still in this really uncertain time and looking forward to a new school year. While I was excited for it, still felt a little bit overwhelming and uncertain. It's so hard to look ahead and know what's coming. Not only with school, with kids in school, even if you don't have children in school, looking ahead to think, are we going to be able to be with family at Christmas? What about Easter? Looking even further down the road, next Thanksgiving, let alone this one. It's just so hard to look ahead and feel the same sort of security in routine and stability that we normally would potentially have at this time of a year. And so a few weeks ago, kind of in the middle of August, I found myself in the book of Exodus and reading a part of the Exodus story that I'm familiar with. It's a story that I've known since I was a child, of the Israelites leaving their slavery in Egypt behind and heading out into the desert. And something struck me that was different. It had never jumped out at me before, and it seemed really appropriate to this time. And I was really encouraged by it. It brought a sense of hope, and I've actually already shared it with some of you, so forgive me for repeating myself, but I think that the message just really calmed me and spoke to me as we're heading into this new season, which is exciting and yet also really uncertain. I'm going to be reading from Exodus chapter 14, but just a little bit of a backstory in case you're not familiar with it. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt under Pharaoh, and Moses, under the direction of God, went to Pharaoh and asked to let the people go, and Pharaoh wouldn't let them go. God sent a series of plagues, eventually resulting in the death of the firstborn sons of all the Egyptians, and finally Pharaoh let them go. And so where I found myself in this passage is the Israelites have just left, so they've packed up their things and left Egypt, and they are walking away through the desert, and they come to a place where God actually tells them, he kind of reroutes them and tells them to stop and camp. And God speaks to Moses, who is their leader, and then Moses directs the people. And so in this scene that I'm looking at, the Israelites have stopped to camp beside the Red Sea, and suddenly they realize that Pharaoh and his army are coming back after them, that they've changed their minds and decided that they don't want to let all their free labor go, and they would like to go and bring the Israelites back to Egypt. And this time reading it, I just had a very different perspective of it. I'm going to be reading from chapter 14, so Exodus chapter 14, starting in verse 10. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Was this because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians'? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert." Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again." Sorry. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. The Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground. I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go in after them, and I will gain glory through Pharaoh and all his army, through his chariots and his horsemen. The Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I gain glory through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen." Sorry, see, it made me tear up. There's something about it. Um, and what struck me this time that was different, and how I'm relating this to heading into September, is that you have this group of people, and I was picturing, myself as a mom. You have your children there, you have your family, the people that you care for, and there's Pharaoh's army, this terrifying thing that's looming in the distance, and crying out to God, what are we doing here? Why are we even here? There's this fear that we can't escape. They are not going to let us go, and we can't get away from them. And I was sort of drawn into thinking that this is what we live in right now. We're living in such a time where we're so worried about ourselves, we're worried about our families, we're worried about our security and our safety, and this is just something that's looming constantly. And then this is where I get emotional, sorry. The Lord will fight for you. You need only stand still. And I was so encouraged by that, to know that in this time, the Lord has it, and He has that part, and we don't need to fight. We can trust that the Lord has this situation, has it all in His hand and in His plan. But then the really neat part is at the very next line. So He just said, stand still, I've got this. The very next line is that the Lord says to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. And other translations say, tell them to get going, tell them to go. And so we have these two opposite commands. On one hand, stand still, I've got this. You are scared, but I will fight for you, and I have it. And on the other hand, I have this plan for you, and I know that there's a sea right there in front of you, but I have a plan for how you're going to get through it. And so keep going, follow where I lead, follow my command, and I will make sure that you get through safely. And so I was just so encouraged that while there seems to be this constant looming anxiety and fear, we can stand still knowing that God's got this, and that He has it all under control. And then at the same time, as we look forward into this uncertainty, we can be encouraged in knowing that God's plan for us hasn't changed, and that we can keep going, and He will make a way. And in this case, it's that He had Moses raise his staff, and the sea was divided. The Israelites passed through safely, and the Pharaoh and his army who followed were swept away in the sea. And so I was just so encouraged by that. So I hope that you appreciate that as well, just knowing that you can stand still and the Lord will fight, but don't forget to keep moving.